Now, town takeovers are typically one of the most exciting things to have updated into the game because it gives us more about a character and pretty much personifies that character as a new, fun point of interest for gameplay. What's up guys, it's Legend X Ronin, and today I want to talk about my idea for a town takeover for every character currently in the game that does not have a town takeover at the time. Now before I get into this video, if you guys enjoy it and this type of content, please be sure to drop it a like to help support my channel. Let's even get this video at least 100 likes, I'd really appreciate it. And if you're new to my channel, please be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more Apex content and helping me on my road to 10,000 subscribers. Okay, so as we all know at this point in the game during Season 9 Legacy, all the characters who have a town takeover are Bloodhound with the Bloodhound Trials on World's Edge, Wraith with Sing Labs at Kings Canyon, Pathfinder with Pathfinder's Fight Night in Olympus, Caustic with Caustic's Treatment on Kings Canyon, Mirage with Mirage Voyage, which was originally on World's Edge, then it moves to Kings Canyon, and now I guess it's just an arena map. And then Octane, who has Octane's Gauntlet on Kings Canyon. And lastly, Crypto with Crypto's Map Room on Kings Canyon as well. Which leaves plenty of room for more town takeovers on World's Edge and Olympus for the characters who are left, such as Gibby, Lifeline, Bangalore, Wattson, Revenant, Loba, Rampart, Horizon, Fuse, and Valkyrie. Now of course it's going to be a while before some of these characters get a town takeover, and we might have to wait for some new maps, but I'm sure each of these legends have a fan out there who's eagerly awaiting the reveal of one of these legends town takeover. So I came up with some concepts that I think would be cool ideas for each and every one of these characters town takeover. Now my idea for a town takeover for Gibby would be kind of like a motorcycle dome. I mean, there's no motorcycles in Apex, so maybe we can call it Gibby's Trident Dome. The idea I have is that it could be on Olympus. As far as like a point of interest that they can get rid of to add it would probably be like Ivory Pass or maybe the Power Station East. For this idea though, I kind of went with Ivory Pass since it already has like that huge hole that you can fall through. So imagine Gibby's Dome of Protection as a giant motorcycle dome hovering over the hole in Ivory Pass. Now of course, when you're inside this dome, you won't be able to shoot through it from the outside or inside, just like how Gibby's Tactical is. But maybe you can just ride around in tridents, and of course you can shoot each other while you're on the trident while you're in the inside of the dome. Now I imagine some surrounding ramps, of course, on the outside where you can be able to get some different kind of loot, kind of like how Pathfinder's Fight Night is, where it has different loot surrounding the boxing arena. So maybe they can have something like that as well. I think this would be a really good idea for Gibby, considering it shows a bit of his personality, because as we all know, he likes to ride motorcycles. So this would be a really cool nod for a town takeover idea for him. I feel like there's a lot of good ideas they could have for Lifeline, but if you want to stay true to the character, I feel like a really cool idea for a town takeover would be a giant concert stage. Now my idea for the name of this point of interest would be Rockout Concert Stage. I think this would work well on Olympus, kind of like where the power station is. They can get rid of that for this town takeover. And the concept that I have is a giant concert stage with 3 screens and music playing in the area, kind of like Mirage Voyage. You can press a button or something to start a concert performance. Once that concert starts, on the middle screen there will appear footage of Lifeline or someone playing music for the concert, and players who are on stage can be seen on the other 2 side screens so that other teams in the area can see people who are over there having a good time or possibly getting smacked on screen. When the concert is over, loot crates shoot at the stage for the grand finale. Now of course audio will be a big thing, but I imagine it will be kind of like the music audio for Mirage Voyage. Low music is played and is a bit louder as you get closer to the concert stage. Lastly, aside from the typical crates and other loot in the area, I think it would be a really cool idea to have healing stations like Lifeline's Tactical in the area. Maybe they can set it up in the crowd or possibly only on stage when the concert is going on. Overall, I think this is a really cool idea for Lifeline, considering she was formerly in a band and they talked about adding healing stations in the game before. So I think that this would be really cool to see, and hopefully we can get something this cool for Lifeline's town takeover. When it comes to Bangalore, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of imagine a basic town takeover. So the idea I had for a concept for her would be for them to remodel the airbase on Kings Canyon as an IMC airbase. So as I said, this could be a town takeover that's going to be on Kings Canyon, and for the point of interest name, this could be called IMC Airbase. I imagine that they could remodel the entire airbase, possibly adding some more areas that you can move around in, and then maybe they can also add like some really cool looking IMC aircrafts. Now to add a bit more flair to it, maybe they can have like some kind of button in the area that you can hit to call down an airstrike. I know that this is something that shouldn't be spammed, so maybe you could only use it once, but I think that would be kind of a really cool nod to Bangalore's ultimate. With Bangalore being a former IMC pilot, I do imagine this being like a really cool, simple idea they could have for a town takeover for her. With them constantly betraying Wattson when it comes to giving her some buffs, when it comes to not giving her her heirloom yet, I would hope that they can do something really cool for her town takeover. So the idea I have that they could do for Wattson's town takeover is they could remodel the cage on Kings Canyon as one giant electric cage. So of course, for the name of this point of interest, I imagine something basic like electric cage, since it's already called cage. And the concept of this point of interest is like an electric substation area, with cage being the center focal point. I think it would be cool if there was like a way to lock down the entire cage by hitting a button to turn the power on for the entire area, which creates fences and electric currents in different parts of this area. Now when the power is on, I imagine that players within the cage will slowly have their shields charged, kind of like Wattson's ult. Now I know that this sounds like a bit much, so maybe like players can destroy a battery that prevents the power from turning back on, or they can just have it where you only can use it once and it runs out of power after a duration of time. But even if there wasn't the shield charge concept, I think that the idea like this for a town takeover for Wattson would be really awesome. Now when it comes to Revenant, I think we all expect to see something really cool when it comes to his town takeover. Now as far as a location, I do think that since we will probably eventually get a new map, more than likely it's going to be on Gaia, I think this would be a good point of interest on a new map, because I can't imagine my concept necessarily working on any of the other 3 maps. But the idea that I have for his town takeover could be like a graveyard area with of course gravestones in the area. Now, I think the name I kind of want to go with would be something like Dead Man's Grave or Assassin's Burial. But the concept idea is that in the back of the graveyard, there's an altar, and if you were to touch the altar, you gain shadow abilities, kind of like the Shadowfall LTM. Now, of course, I know this sounds like an overpowered idea, but of course there's going to be some limitations, like you can't go out a certain distance or it'll go away, kind of like how Revenant's ultimate used to be. And of course it goes away after a duration of time, and it can only be used once. I feel like that's a good way to kind of nerf it down a bit, but I think that this would be a pretty interesting idea for Revenant's town takeover, and I think it would be kind of really cool to kind of see those Shadowfall elements be brought back into the game to where you can actually use it a bit more than just waiting for that LTM to arrive again around Halloween. Now Loba is an interesting character to think of a town takeover for, because more than likely you would assume that they would lean more into the idea that she's a thief, so that could create a pretty interesting town takeover that they could have. So my idea would be something like a thief place that they could have on Olympus. I would imagine that maybe they can remodel Bonsai Plaza into this new point of interest. As far as like a name, I kind of came up with something like Thieves Hideout or the Collector's Den. What they could do is, as I said, remodel the Bonsai Plaza and add a bit more to that one side building that's not connected like the other 2. I think it'd be really cool to have something like a thief vault that will be in that side building called the Collector's Den. Now the idea is that in this den there's a computer that has access to a vault with any gun in the game and high tier loot, and the only way to gain access would be to find the key that opens up the vault, or hack into it with crypto, or even break into it with Loba. I think that this would be a really nice idea to have something like this in the game, though it definitely would become a quick hotspot for everyone, considering that everyone wants to be able to receive that exact weapon that they're looking for, plus high tier loot. It's a good nod to Loba's ultimate and could have a lot more lore significance by adding some more stuff from Loba's backstory. We already know that Bonsai Plaza is where her parents died, so I think it would be really cool if they changed it up to kind of make it look more how it did in the season 4 launch trailer. This would definitely be something interesting to see, and I think it would be a really cool idea for a town takeover for Loba. Now on to the golden child of season 10, we have Rampart, who is supposedly in the works of getting a new heirloom and even a town takeover for this season. So I think an idea for a town takeover for her would be really cool if it was something like a junkyard or maybe like her garage where she works on things. Now as far as the point of interest itself, we could call it something like Rampart's junkyard or Rampart's garage. I think that if they were to do this, that a good place that it could be put in is World's Edge, and if not that, maybe a new map. I would imagine, of course, that it would have junk everywhere with different machines that Rampart has worked on in the past. As far as like, you know, a nod to like her abilities, maybe there could be some giant amped walls that can be activated when used, like her tactical, or maybe even like a prototype of Sheila set up in the area that you can use until it runs out of bullets. Now, aside from the junk being everywhere, of course, there'll be crates and different high tier loot there. And maybe they can add in some different kind of nods, like maybe she could have in her garage a trash titan, or maybe somewhere in the junkyard a trash titan could be there. That'd be an awesome nod that they could have to Titanfall. And of course, back when she was working on Valkyrie's suit, then there could still be parts left over from Viper's old Titan. I think this would be a really cool idea that they could have for her town takeover, and honestly I think there's a lot of cool different things that they could do for her. So I'm really curious to see if she is going to be the legend who's going to get a town takeover in season 10, because I'm very interested in seeing what they could do for her. Now Horizon is definitely one of those characters as well that you would think would have a really cool town takeover because space is very interesting. So my idea for a town takeover would be something on Olympus. I'm thinking they could get rid of Orbital Cannon to add a new point of interest. Now as far as the name, I would call this one Newt's Observatory, and the concept behind it is it's a giant observatory like area, and of course there's different areas that you can find crates and high tier loot around in the area, but inside there's a zero gravity room that can be activated and works like Horizon's tactical as far as in the air movement. Or maybe they can have different areas with gravity lifts similar to how Horizon's teaser was in season 6. That way they kind of have like a nod towards her abilities. I think this would be a pretty cool idea, and if the orbital looks really nice in the inside, I think this would make for a really great town takeover for Horizon. While the whole theme around Fuse dealt with mayhem, I feel like the idea for a town takeover for him could be a bit more subtle. So the idea that I had was like more of a giant baseball like stadium. So I think that this would be more of a point of interest on maybe a new map, just because I can't really see something like this being on, you know, any of the other 3 maps. And the idea of the name would be called Wally's Playground or Wally's Playground Arena. So as I said before, the concept is a giant baseball stadium. I was thinking maybe like when you get into the stadium, there is an announcer voice, kind of like Pathfinder's Fight Night, except that the announcer voice is Mad Maggie, just like how she was the voice back in season 8 of Apex.
Oi, it's Mad Maggie.
So in the stadium, aside from crates and different areas that you can loot, down in the middle of the stadium there will be a baseball pitching machine that shoots out grenades when you turn it on. I feel like this could be that one nod towards Fuse's abilities considering his tactical and his passive. Aside from that, I think another unique aspect of this town takeover could be that when you're down in the middle of the stadium, if the whole team gets wiped out, you know, 3 people, the announcer voice to kind of make an announcement about the team being wiped out, you know, 3 strikes, you're out, or maybe even bombs can shoot into the air signifying that a squad has been wiped out in the area. As I said before, I know that Fuse's biggest thing is mayhem, but I feel like there would be a lot of fun to whatever idea they'll come up with for a town takeover for him, so I hope we can see something really cool just like this. And lastly, we have Valkyrie, who I think would be interesting to see a town takeover for as well, just because I wonder how they could implement, some of her personality into the town takeover. So the idea that I came up with is a new point of interest called Tilted Skies. Now, as far as the location, I feel like this would work well whether it's on Olympus or World's Edge. But as far as the concept, it's an area with high platforms, and some areas are above open areas, so you can fall through if you're not being careful to where you're going from platform to platform. Now, to help get around, there's different areas with air pressure that shoots the player up into the air, kind of like a jump tower, or more so like the geysers on World's Edge, to kind of help you move from platform to platform. I was thinking, of course, as part of the look, maybe they can have like a giant banner with the apex symbol, kind of resembling how it looked on her father Viper's Titan, which I think will be kind of a cool nod towards Valkyrie's lore. But going back to location, I imagine if this was on Olympus, this would probably get rid of one of those open areas that's not a point of interest on the map. But if this happens to be on World's Edge, maybe it might be a part of a destroyed or revamped Fragment or Skyhook. I know they talked about getting rid of Fragment just because, everybody kind of loves to drop there in World's Edge. So if they do decide to get rid of it, I think it would be really cool to kind of replace it with a cool point of interest that a lot of people would like to go to. So I think that it would work well there, if not Skyhook. But overall, I feel like this would be an interesting town takeover for Valkyrie. It's not too overdone, but it does kind of have a nod towards maybe a little bit of her lore and just a little bit of her ability to be able to get around through the air. So these are my thoughts on concepts for each and every character currently left without a town takeover. King's Cane just still seems like that perfect place for town takeovers, but I'm sure we'll start to get more in World's Edge and Olympus. I can't wait to see what ideas they come up with for each and every one of these characters' themed points of interest, and if they may even add personalized arena maps for characters one day as well. I guess only time will tell. But what do you guys think about these concepts for town takeovers? Would you like to see any of these become new points of interest, or do you have your own ideas for town takeovers for some of these characters? Be sure to let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. Since I wasn't able to get Seer in this video and the Heirloom video, I plan on doing a separate video just for him. And speaking of that Heirloom video, if you haven't yet, you can check out my ideas for heirlooms for remaining characters who haven't received one yet. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to drop a like to help support my channel. Let's see if we can get this video to that 100 likes goal. I would really appreciate it. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at X Ronin to keep up with all things that I do with my channel and to join in on the many discussions that I have. I also have a Discord chat that you guys can join for more discussions and even my live discussions where I'm talking about many different Apex topics with you guys. I'll leave a link for that in the descriptions below. If you're new to my channel, be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more Apex content. This is X Ronin. Stay humble, and I'll see you all in the next video. Now, my idea personally is something like Percy Jackson's pen sword. I mean, she already has a pen with the laser, so I think it would be really cool if she had a pen that when she clicks it, it basically turns into something like a Jedi sword with the blue beam. Now, I think that this would be